Are you thinking of buying or selling property in South Africa from abroad? Or maybe you're living here and planning to move your money out of the country. When it comes to international property transactions, currency exchange isn't just a side detail. It can make a massive difference to what you actually pay or pocket. Today I'm joined by Liam Vickers, property business consultant of Currency Partners here in the Western Cape, South Africa's specialist foreign exchange provider, to unpack how smart currency strategy can protect your money, reduce risk, and even increase your returns when buying or selling property. Let's get started. Hi Liam, thanks for taking time out of your busy day today to join me. Got a couple of questions for you.
Thanks, Howard. Yeah.
From there, yeah.
Perfect. So, no problem.
How does Currency Partners assist non-resident buyers in transferring funds for property purchases in South Africa?
So essentially, in a nutshell, Currency Partners provides a secure, cost-effective foreign exchange solution specifically tailored for non-resident buyers. So we assist with the regulatory requirements. We help open client-specific accounts for inward payments and outward payments if needed. And we ensure that the funds are transferred smoothly and in full compliance with the South African Reserve Bank regulations. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We just want to make sure that the funds are tracked correctly and they're brought in the cleanest way possible so that we avoid potential problems and issues later down the line.
Financial controls and all that which we have here, yeah. So what then are these common challenges that investors face regarding currency exchange when investing in South African properties? And how can these be mitigated?
Yeah, good question. So there's a few issues that and challenges that they face. Firstly, exchange rate volatility. The rand goes up and down like crazy. Regulatory red tape and delays with certain approvals through the Reserve Bank. So we mitigate these. They can be mitigated through early planning. So what we like to tell our clients is if they are planning on purchasing a property, to come to us as soon as that idea sort of enters their mind, so that we can get everything open and ready for them. And then what we can do is we can combat those challenges by setting up rate alerts for them and just making sure that everything is ready so that when they find the right property, there's no sort of issues in terms of timelines on the offer to purchases. They can get the most competitive rate through us. And if there are any sort of Reserve Bank approvals and necessary regulations that we have to follow on their behalf, they're all done beforehand so that timelines are met. So yeah, locking in favorable exchange rates by using rate alerts, and then essentially, yeah, just using a specialist provider like Currency Partners. It just helps, especially foreigners, navigate the regulatory landscape, and we do that all on their behalf.
That's a huge bonus to have. I mean, I can imagine, sort of the challenges facing all that, all that volatility in the exchange and all the government regulations as well. So,
100%.
Yeah, so can you explain the process of obtaining a foreign tax clearance certificate from SARS, and what is its importance in property transactions?
Sure. So a foreign tax clearance certificate is required when transferring funds offshore after selling a property in South Africa. So we assist clients, in terms of gathering the necessary documentation. So proof of source of funds, sale agreements, tax statuses, things like that. We let them know what they need, and we help them gather that. So proof of source of funds, just to touch on it, it's quite an important thing that it's not really communicated to clients when purchasing a property, specifically foreigners. If it's generally called a SWIFT confirmation or an MT103, just for those that want to know. If this documentation isn't stored or it isn't kept and the client wants to sell the property in future, they're going to have a little bit of a problem in getting those funds back out of the country, if that's what they want to do. So we like to advise clients to come through an intermediary like ourselves, so that we store all the documents in one place and they don't have any issues later down the line should they decide to sell. Yeah, so we just make sure that everything is done correctly, and that they have the necessary certificates. It's very crucial to ensure that funds are, that the funds can be repatriated legally and efficiently.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And you mentioned earlier about the volatility of the South African rand. So what strategies, do you guys recommend to clients to protect themselves against these currency volatilities during these property transactions?
So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we can set up a rate alert for clients. This essentially, whatever they are wanting to convert at, if timelines allow, oftentimes property, it moves a little bit quicker, so we don't always get to do this. But if the client is proactive about it and they come to us 6 months, a year beforehand, they can tell us a rate that they're comfortable at moving at. We can set that up on their account, and as soon as the rate hits that level, we will then book the trade through them. So it's really nice because they get a personalized FX dealer that will walk them through the whole process. They'll be able to speak to them at any time, asking just questions about how it's looking, if they've got any forecasts that they have. So it's just nice to have a sort of a personal relationship with their own personalized dealer. Another thing that we do is we offer hedging. So just to give you an idea on what that is we are able to lock in a rate up to 2 years in advance. So this is something that we've done for clients that, as an example, want to develop a property. So they purchase land and they sort of want to track and manage their costs up front. So we can get them a rate now for up to 2 years in advance. It's quite useful just to sort of manage expenses and that kind of thing. So those are 2 ways we can do it, trying to get the best rate possible and make it as affordable for our clients as possible, while giving them a more personalized service. That's essentially what we do.
Okay, so does that tie into your better price promise, and how it benefits clients in property transactions?
Yes, 100%. So essentially, what we do with that is we obviously know that there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of providers out there that clients can pick and choose from. So essentially, what we are offering is, if a client manages to find better pricing than us, I mean, it's quite unlikely. Our pricing is very competitive, but if they do find better pricing than ours, we will look at that, and then obviously taking into consideration our personalized service aspect, we will better that rate. So it's a guarantee that the client is going to get value out of using us. So essentially, yes, if they come to us with pricing that's better than us, we can match it or beat it.
So nobody's going to come to you with a $5 to the dollar or something like that.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And I mean, the next thing up is, what role does Currency Partners play in assisting clients with exchange control regulations and the rest of the compliance that's needed in property transactions?
Sure. So we guide clients through SA's complex exchange control framework. We essentially handhold the client from beginning to end. It can get quite complex. And so we don't, we've had it before when clients are dealing with exchange control by themselves and they just get absolutely nowhere. So we take that completely out of their hands and we do it for them, obviously keeping them involved throughout the process. If that's what they want. If they don't, we just handle it completely. We've got a very good relationship with exchange control and the Reserve Bank. So we work very closely with them, and we make sure that any necessary approvals, that can often take weeks, we are able to get them in a lot shorter and, at the most cost-effective way possible for the client. So yeah, ensuring full compliance, peace of mind. I don't want to use the term hand-holding, but essentially just making it as simple for the client as possible.
which I'm sure is greatly appreciated in this type of things, especially if you're possibly even like a first time buying into the country.
Yes, no, 100%.
Really special to be able to do.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you. And how about, can you share any success stories where currency partners, have significantly benefited the client's property transaction?
Yeah, for sure. So let me just use the most recent one. So it was quite a complex transaction. The client so they came to us quite late. So they already had a signed offer to purchase, and they were wanting to obviously bring the funds from Europe. What happened is that they signed the offer to purchase and they stated that they wanted to purchase the property in the name of a South African entity to be formed. So they hadn't yet formed the entity, but the property was going to be purchased through an entity. And the funds were coming from a company account offshore. So the funds were going to come from their company offshore to the South African company. And the company was obviously going to be the owner of the property. And it's quite a complex transaction in that way, because what happens is the Reserve Bank views that as a foreign loan and it needs to be tracked as a foreign loan. If it's not, the client, if they sold the property later down the line, they would not be able to repatriate their funds at all. It's quite an important one. We've had it before where clients have done it this way, but they didn't bring the funds in correctly through a company account, and they cannot repatriate their funds. So we saved the client a massive headache later down the line. It took a little bit longer because we had to get the necessary Reserve Bank approvals, and obviously the offer, I think the deposit due date was around 10 days. So we had to speak to the agent, we had to speak to the attorneys, and we had to let them know, guys, this is what's happening. If we don't bring the funds in through a company account, and if we don't get the necessary Reserve Bank approval, this client will face a massive problem later down the line. So we saved them that headache, and then we were also able to offer them, I think it was, can't remember the exact saving, but it was quite a substantial saving compared to what their bank was going to charge them. So we saved them on the fees, and then we saved them a massive train smash later down the line, which I think is a pretty good outcome.
That sounds amazing. Well, it's all been fascinating, interesting stuff. I'm sure if anybody wants to find out more, they can definitely get in touch. But thank you so much for your time today, and it's been great chatting to you.
No problem at all. Thank you, Howard. It was great. And I hope I added value. And yeah, if there's anyone out there listening to this, you know who to come to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
100%. Thanks, Howard. Cheers.
Wow, big thanks to Liam and the team at Currency Partners for sharing such valuable insights. If you're an international buyer looking to invest in Hermanus, or a South African planning to move funds overseas, don't underestimate the power of good currency advice. It could literally save you hundreds of thousands. If you'd like to connect with Currency Partners or need help navigating your next property move here in Hermanus, get in touch with me directly. I'm always happy to help make the process smoother and smarter. I've linked all of our contact details below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. I'm Howard Schenker, Agent 7200 for Hazelmark Properties here in Hermanus.